Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coach Carrie's Corner. My name is Carrie Patterson. I've spent the past 20 years coaching employees as well as executives on how to navigate their career. So, this six-part series is called Pivoting Your Career, and we're going to start out with core values. This is a compass, the main true north, if you will, of your compass on how to navigate and really understand who you are, who you want to be, and what type of legacy you want to leave behind. So, with that, let's get started on the journey. The foundation of core value is to understand what they are. And there's a great website out there. It's called The Science of People. And if you look at their core values page, I find it to be totally fantastic. Core values are the internal compass of foundation principles that drive a person's life or an organization. This is what Logan Haley put on their website. And I think it's just spot on because this is the core. This is your true north. This is what drives the direction. So, why are they important? Well, it's a guide, right? Just like a compass, it guides you through who you are, what behavior you demonstrate, and what choices you make. Because your core values are really your authentic self. And under stress and under pressure, they really come out. So you can't hide who you are. You can mask it to some degree and you can offer a lot of lip service, but your behavior is what other people are going to judge you by. Another resource for you is this book called Built on Values by Ann Rhodes. She's listed out these six principles in her book that I think you will find very valuable as you read her book and understand these principles at a deeper level. At a high level, I can tell you culture does eat strategy for breakfast. And there's teeth in culture. And that teeth, part of it is the core foundation of what leaders have. Your company may have a set of core values, but if your leaders are not aligned to it, you can imagine that some of that teeth is going to eat that strategy that you have in place. So be mindful of the leaders that you hire and ensure that their personal core values are aligned to your corporate core values. Another principle here, principle 4, is one that you see come up a lot in software organizations. People are incentivized, or they do exactly what they're incentivized to do. And there's a term called MBO, management by objective, that organizations will give bonus to or salary adjustments to, and they'll put in place these MBOs and measure an organization of their goodness, if you will, of how well they're performing and so forth. Make sure if you're responsible in creating those MBOs that they're not vanity metrics, meaning like one in agile world for software is called story points. So sometimes they'll incentivize people by how many story points they get sprint over sprint, and that they show that they're increasing in value. So they think that they're getting more work done, when in reality, that's a vanity metric. It's like, whose line is it, anyways? The points don't really matter. It all depends on what value you're delivering to your client, your stakeholders, the business value. Do you really understand that? And are you delivering increasing value to those receiving what you're outputting? So make sure that you're aligned to what are you measuring and what are you incentivizing people to do, that it's truly in line with what you value as a company or what you value as a leader. So I love this progression that Anne has put together, that leaders demonstrate value in their behaviors that informs a culture that informs a performance within an organization. So I can't express enough of how important it is that the leader's core values are aligned to the business core values. if you want the performance out of your organization, you really have to make sure that you have the right leader in the positions necessary to deliver the value that you want to your clients and to your stakeholders. So there's this term called leadership shadow. It's from Winning Teams and Winning Cultures. That book is really another powerful one that I love to use in my coaching, and that one really talks about that leadership shadow because it's so critically important, and it does cascade into the organization. It's not what the leader says or what lip service they give to an organization. It's how they behave and the choices they make in the closed conversations, because a lot of those closed conversations get told one by one through the organization. There really are no secrets. Everyone chit chats in the back corner. And if you if you don't have the leaders that are properly aligned, then you're going to have issues with an organization. That's the negative side. On the positive side, hiring the right leaders that demonstrate the core values that your company has is going to create an organization that is aligned, that will perform in a way that the organization values. And so it's important, really, of what leaders you have. And leadership is not necessarily the person that has the title. These are people who are the influencers of your organization, whether it's an agile coach, it's a customer advocate, it's a engagement manager responsible for a client. So it's someone internal representing as well as external representing. So be mindful of your hires. And if you're that person in those responsible roles, that you're understanding that you do have a shadow and it does impact people. There are no secrets. Don't assume that people are holding what you say in the closet to them isn't being communicated out. It does leak out. Just know that there are no secrets. And your behavior is what people are going to demonstrate that you're responsible for or that you have influence over. So pay attention that what you're behaving is really reflecting what your core values are, and that your core values are aligned with the corporate core values. Now it's time to get to work. Let's look at your core values. What's important to you? What do you really value? That website that I mentioned before of Science of People, that's a great one. They have an extensive list. Mine is a shorter list of potential core values you can have, but why core values are so important. I mentioned before that under stress, core values come out, and they can bang on each other if you're not aligned. And so you need to understand before you go into major stress or organizational pressure, if a leader has a core value of discipline and an employee has a core value of playfulness, you can imagine under stress the conflict that would come. And it's not a right or wrong. If there is no right or wrong in core values, it's just understanding where people are and that you understand their behavior. Because a lot of times people will judge themselves as these external factors. Well, this and that happened, and therefore I behaved in this way. And then we'll judge other people of, well, it's their character that's actually wrong. And you need to be very careful in understanding what people's core values are and how they show up at work. So it's worth having a conversation. What are your core values? Because if you have someone with discipline and someone with playfulness, that you have a discussion before the stress is on, before the hard times, that you understand behaviors and you say, okay, I know that someone who values playfulness under stress needs an opportunity to release that stress through their communication with how they behave, how they show up. But for them to understand, look, you can express yourself, but there's guidance of how you do that. You're not going to do it in the moment of intense conversation, a prioritization, or whatever the case may be. But the leaders really got to set those boundaries so that someone with playfulness knows that their behavior is acceptable, but under these circumstances. That's another frame that I always like to use is what's the established criteria of when I can be different and when do I need to adhere to the norms of the organization of the leader. So it's worth having that conversation. It's employee to manager, peer to peer, executive to organization, whatever the relationship is, that everyone's really clear of their personal core values, the leader's core values, and the organization core values, so that you have harmony in your organization and not unnecessary drama and stress that is totally not a right or wrong, but just individuals coming together for the greater good. So pay attention to core values. They're important. It's foundation. This is your opportunity to create your compass. What is your true north? And establish what your top 5 are. Write those out. Understand why. Why is this a core value to me? And we'll talk more on that later. But hold on to it. This is part 1.